I was rewatching it the other day, and Exit Stage Death came on, and I just love Tim Meadows. That has to be. There's 2 episodes where I'm just like, these are my favorite episodes, hands down. Mm-hmm. But like that one, when he said, when she said, well, you signed an NDA, and he was like, well, I have NFs to G.
Tim Meadows is he's so underrated. He's so underrated. Like, not enough people talk about him. He's always been just perfectly hilarious. And it just looks like he's not even trying. It always looks like he's like, okay, I'll come. like, all right. Oh, a series that's been on forever. You want me to be like one of the major players? I ain't got nothing to do for the next however long he was on there. What, 9 years? Sure. When he was in Mean Girls. Oh, yeah. Okay, girl. Yeah, girl. We go back. Go way, way back. I'll come in and like for this 5 minutes that he's in it. And he's just so funny. And he's always himself, but it never feels tired. Like,
no.
Same character. Because he's just funny. It's like, I'm not convinced that he was ever even trying to be funny.
Yeah, he just has that. It's almost deadpan humor, but then it almost sounds like he knows that he's telling a joke. It's like he's aware that he's telling a joke, but he's not going to laugh at it. But it also can be construed as being totally serious. And it just cracks me up. I have NFs to G.
Right. And it just seems like, okay, that dude could be, I feel like if Tim Meadows were a bank teller, worked at a desk somewhere, he would be exactly that. There is no like performer, like, no, I'm Tim Meadows. Like, I could see him saying, I have no F's to G, and he's the 2nd grade teacher at my school.
Yeah.
Because, probably none of the teachers have any more to really go. But he's just perfect. And that's such a talent. And I just feel like even down to his name, it's like Tim Meadows. It's just so regular that it's just caused people to like, oh, I guess he's fine. When you watch him, it's like, even as the ladies' man, which should not have been as funny as it was. And I'm not even talking about, because he had a
lisp. Like,
and the list isn't even anything that's like revolutionary, because that's a typical thing. That's a typical affect when you're doing that. But it's something about him where it's just like, I feel like if he was just speaking as a ladies' man, I would still just be like, oh, Tim Meadows. I wouldn't even think of, oh, you're doing the ladies' man. He's just so regular, but so really, really funny. And I think because of his demeanor, he kind of gets passed over. Like, people know he's funny, but they don't name him as like top 5 people, like cast members. And he should be in there, more like bombastic, crazy people like Will Ferrell. You'll say them first, because he's just so, now I think he's funny too, but he's like over the top. And Tim Meadows is just as funny and is just standing there with that.
Yeah.
Like, why am I here? Like, hey.
It's like Tim Meadows is the everyman. Kind of like the way that he presents comedy, he is relatable to every single person. And it's like we're all in on the joke together. Like, we all see how ridiculous something is. And he's just like, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing that you are, except I'm on the screen dealing with it.
Yeah, like, but you're also in it. Yeah, it's like he's a straight funny man. Like,
yeah.
Some people, like Seth Meyers always talks about it. He's like, yeah, you notice when he was like, I was at the Weekend Update just because like that's where I belonged. I was also the head writer. And he's like, but me in the sketch, it's just going to be me. I'm going to be the straight man. But Tim Meadows is a straight man, but is also crazy. I always get happy when I just see him randomly pop up into something. So when he popped up on the screen for this, I was like, okay, now we're cooking with grease.
Welcome to Tangentially Speaking, the podcast where we have in-depth and entertaining conversations with a lot of tangents that always, eventually, connect 2 seemingly unrelated topics.
I am Nikki.
And I'm Nita Sharice.
Today we're reviewing Poker Face, a Columbo-esque Mystery of the Week series created by Reagan Johnson, starring Natasha Lyonne, formerly of Orange is the New Black and Russian Doll. Lyonne plays Charlie Kale, a cocktail waitress turned fugitive after her friend is suddenly murdered. Poker Face premiered in January and is currently streaming on Peacock.
Okay.
Did you watch Columbo?
I did not watch Columbo, but I was very familiar with Columbo, and I actually wondered, do younger generations know who the F Columbo is or care?
I think if the younger generation likes this show because every article starts off like how my intro started, they probably do, because everyone brings up Columbo in it and you just can't help it. So with the TikTok things, there's probably already a trending Columbo sound or something that hasn't made its way to my FYP page, because everyone says Columbo.
Good night. Oh, Mr. Franklin, actually, there is one thing. Not that it makes that much difference.
What is it?
When Mrs. Ferris called you and told you her husband got shot, you jumped in a car and drove right back to L.A., is that right?
That's right.
You know, me, I'd have taken a plane.
And then when they talked to the creator, it was like, yeah, he wanted to do that that kind of old-timey mystery feel where they really just take their time, which is something that I forgot about. Those PI shows back then, there was no zippity zappity like there is now, where things just kind of happen at a fast pace. It was very, very slow. And Columbo wasn't one that I looked for, but my dad watched it. And so I was watching it with him a lot. He loved Columbo and just liked how he would just kind of back into the answer or pretend that he was, oh, okay. But I remember being like, he's taking a long time. But I still watched it, you know?
I did not watch it. It was one of those shows where it might have come on early on Saturday afternoons after all the cartoons went off, or the shows that I wanted to watch come on or went off, and then the TV would still be on. And so I might be doing something else, and then I'll hear the show has gone on without anybody watching it, and you'll hear it. So I was familiar with the Columbo brand, and right. I just thought, oh, this disgusting looking little man with this coat. Does he wash? Does he shower on a regular basis? And he's just kind of slyly solving these crimes and catching people off guard and all of that. Click, turn it, get it off of my TV.
Yeah, it was just slow. As I got a little older watching it with my dad, then I could see what the appeal would be, because he doesn't look like he's going to be good for much. It just looks like shuffle on along, old man, here's $1, get out of here. But but he's actually very, very smart, and of course use that to solve things. He kind of reminds me of Matlock. Parents used to watch Matlock too. And he would do that bumbling oh, I'm just Andy Griffith, you're the killer. And he'd be right and would solve it. So
yeah, it was just, I don't know what endeared him to anybody, and I kind of felt that way about Charlie, Natasha Lyonne's character. What is endearing her to people? The first episode, okay, she has this friend, they've been friends for a while. The friend is in an abusive relationship. She helps her along by having her spend the night, and then she ends up dead. And I'm like, okay, but the rest of the relationships that she runs into, I'm like, why are these people making friends with this Muppet? Because that was the thing. That was the first time I watched it, because I watched it twice, all the way through. First time I watched it, I was just like, what is it about her that bothers me? And it's just, there's something about her overall demeanor, and then the way she moves her body and the way she does her face and all of that. Besides the Columbo thing, I'm like, oh, fuck, they have a female Muppet playing Columbo now. And so after I just started viewing it that way, it became much more entertaining to me, because I was like, oh, I love the Muppets. But still, I don't get why in the one episode, Escape from Shit Mountain, that guy was all on her. But she's a Muppet.
Maybe, first of all, I think that he had been in that spot doing just what he did for a while, and she was like next on the queue.
Okay.
Because, I mean, she has a shaggy look, but she's actually very pretty. Like, she's attractive. It's just the things that you see first aren't, or it just looks like, well, you don't care about much. And like it's easy to just treat her like, oh, that's just some guy. Just because like she just kind of comes off as like, I don't know, whatever. But when you look at her, like in the episode with the guy with the race car driver, like there was the young upstart rival, and then the more settled guy who had been like a champion for a while. I think was it the future of the sport?
Yes, the future of sport, which I like that episode because I just like that it was a Black female aspiring race car driver. There is a Black female race car driver, and now there's a first Black female pit crew member. Brianna Daniels, I believe, is the first pit crew member, Black female pit crew member, and then Tia Norfleet is the first and only Black NASCAR driver, female NASCAR driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like seeing that. That's the thing that I liked about the show. I think we touched on it earlier. I like the diversity in the show. And initially I'm like, is this forced diversity?
I felt like you were referring to that when you were like, some episodes I'm like, did this person have to be Black? And I was like, I feel like she's talking about that Black man that's in the one the rock group
yeah,
where the drummer, that was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites too. Death by Metal.
Especially how it turned out. Now, and I was looking forward to that because I had listened to a podcast that it didn't spoil anything, but they were like, oh my God, there's one episode where if you are fans of this show, you will get which one. And it was that one. Because on this podcast, Extra Hot Great, they just have this thing with Benson. Like they do this quiz, like this.
Oh, yes.
Game time. And whenever someone doesn't know an answer and it's like, you're supposed to be naming a TV show, they're like, I don't know, Benson. It's just been there. They love Benson. And so when they said that and then they played the thing, I'm like, this is the one. That was a really, really good episode. I think I really liked all of them, but I definitely have favorites. I definitely have somewhere, if I didn't see it again, I'd be fine. What I was going to say, I was bringing up the future of the sport because there's a scene in that episode where I'm like, oh, she's attractive. Not that I never thought it, but as Charlie. And I think it's when the rival, the hothead guy, he comes on to her because like it seems like they're having a moment, which I thought that they were going to kiss too. And so he kind of like leans in. She's like, hey, and then you can see like she is pretty. It's just half her face is covered by her hair, by her shaggy hair.
No,
but
I don't think that she's ugly. I don't think that she's bad looking either. I think that she is attractive, but she just, her mannerisms, her movements, it's Muppet. Like even the way that she walks along, it's like, okay, she's a Muppet. And so that just made it easier for me to watch.
But I was saying that because you were like the guy that was chilling on the mountain, like, why would he want to? And I'm like, well, when you take away the rug that's like covering her face and you look at her, it's like, she's attractive. Also, he lives on that mountain and he looks like he does. And I really do feel like this is probably the 20th girl to come here and like maybe he has this relationship sort of with all of them. I was all about it. I was like, oh, this is I didn't expect this because she almost had an asexual vibe to her. Like,
oh, yeah, she was a little bit asexual, but then, I mean, Muppets really don't get their freak on that much.
Yeah, well, see, you're the one that's continuing to frame this as far as Muppets. That's not the frame of life. You're saying it's like, we're talking about Muppet Poker Face, right? But no, I do see it. I see the Muppet thing because Muppets are a very important part of our lives separately and in the friendship. So I see it. But I was happy for her on that. I was like, oh, okay. Because I was starting to wonder, like, I wonder if she just doesn't see it for anybody. Because when the guy leaned in to kiss her, I mean, of course, I was with her like, oh, you've been like hanging out with this mom. That's kind of weird. But also, she also looked like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to do this? And that made me wonder, like, I wonder if she's just like one of those people that's like, I don't need it. So
Yeah, she does come off as that type, but I was happy that she was getting, male.
Yeah, I was like, oh, good.
Male attention, if that's what she chose. But I was also used to her from being from Orange is the New Black, and so I was like, well, maybe she's a lesbian in this role too. So
I thought that, but then I thought she was on the second episode, the night shift, because I felt like that truck driver definitely was. I felt like the truck driver was signaling to her. There may have even have been an exchange where she's like, no, but as it went on, I started thinking, oh, maybe she's not a lesbian, because the Orange is the New Black character was just such a great character, and it was on for so long that's who I see every time I see her pop up in something. But very quickly I was like, yeah, no, because she would have slept with every single person, the guest stars, whoever, in every episode until the end if she was that character. She just really seemed like, listen, I'm running for my life. I'm Charlie Cale. But I think people take to her because she's so laid back and easygoing, and she isn't someone who comes off as like, oh my God, I'm horrified by what I just saw, or like, I'm so offended. She's just kind of like, all right, she's game for everything. And if you think about every episode, someone in that episode is up to no good. And so if somebody's just kind of like laid back, they're not really making you suspicious until they start to figure out like, okay, I thought this person was laid back and cool, but they're asking a lot of really piercing on the nose questions. And then they get kind of suspicious. But it was pretty much her in, I'm pretty sure, on every episode except maybe the last one, which called back to the first one, where she struck up like a friendship, and which I was glad for, because at least they made it believable. Like, why would she go all out for these people? But it's like she has this exchange and it's kind of nice. She's also on the run. And then I had the realization, like, also, she messed up on her friend. And she didn't really mess up, but her actual close friend was murdered, and she felt like, I could have done something about it, because she asked her to like come to her house, right? And she didn't want to. No, she did. But
the next day she called, and she was in that meeting, with the casino managers or the casino owner's son. So she wasn't able to answer the call.
And it just kind of feels like she's like, okay, I'm gonna follow that instinct, or I'm not gonna let anything go. And again, like, she's just cool. She's like one of those strangers. Be like, I talked to that person for 20 minutes. I do not know their name, so it was a good conversation. I'm moving on. So I mean, it happens to me a lot. So
I know. I think, but also, no one hates Muppets either. So there's that. But
there's the Jim Henson of it all.
Okay, so these are the things that I found. Because was the show compelling? Yes. Thank you for the recommendation. I watched it, as I was doing other things. So, so it was good to have on. The parts that I wanted to rewind, I rewound and watched. That Tim Meadows episode, hilarious. The Rested Metal episode, also a favorite. Did you know somebody actually died like that in real life? There'll be a link in the show notes.
In the club.
Yeah. So, so anyway, and then I was surprised by the number of people who have died during this onstage performance. There's a whole list on Wikipedia so amazing. But okay, so the things that the concerns that I have with this show, because I'm just like, okay, she's on the run from this mob boss. She never changes her name.
No.
She goes by the same name. Does it at any point does she never changes her appearance, so she has the same Muppet look all the entire time. And she's driving the same fucking car with the same tags. So I'm just like,
and a car that people, they comment on it enough to where it's like, oh, I would remember that. Like, she wasn't in like a Corolla, like
no. It was a classic car, and so I'm just like, okay, so how well is she hiding? Because, and then every time she uses the ATM, 4 hours and the guy is there. And I'm like, well, if they're looking for her this hard and she's not really going out of her way to hide her identity, why did it take an entire year to find her? I don't understand.
Benjamin Brad, bad at his job. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't get it. And do I expect like a criminal unit to be better at solving a mystery than police? I don't know. Sometimes, depending on the motivation, but yeah, that it was. I was just like, I'm gonna kind of call bullshit on this, like the way she's calling bullshit on everyone who lies, and then the ability to tell when people are telling the truth or are lying. So is it magic? Or is it just something that a sense that she was born with? Because then I Googled like, are there telltale signs to know whether or not somebody is lying? Can somebody actually be a human lie detector?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I know like people lie in different ways. And usually like, that somebody is lying because you know something about them.
Right.
She
says on there, like, it's just a thing that I've always had. And I'm holding out hope that they're going to address it, just because we learn a little bit more about her and her actual family, like right towards the end. So they'll let me know. And they use the person who's not an unknown. It's like, oh, they have this person, this actress. I can't see this just being like a one-off. And her sister also alludes to, you didn't have to do that because it was dad. And you get the sense that her knowing when people are lying or like having to tell the truth caused some sort of rift or some sort of problem. And maybe it seems obvious that the dad died and the sister is living in the family house with the daughter. And so it's like, okay, I feel like they're going to have to explore, like, did she get struck by lightning or something? Like, what's going on? Because obviously it's been an issue since she was young. And I cannot see them introducing this major thing at the end. And then like, we go to season 2 and they're like, what sister? What needs what? So I'm hoping that they do like a flashback, or at least just explain, what did you do? Was your dad a criminal? And you fucked it up because he was being questioned by the police and you were like, Daddy, you're not telling the truth, or something, because her sister is pissed and is tired of her bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was like, her sister was just so like, I'm like, man, if I hadn't seen my sister, I think I'd be like, are you okay? She was just like, yeah, it's always something with you and your bullshit and you have to tell the truth. And she said, oh yeah, your little special thing. And I'm like, so her sister hates it. What did she do? Because she was just really, really cold. I'm like, unless she's just a natural witch, like just an evil person, this girl has done something or been misunderstood. And then the situation that she was in, you're sympathizing with her because she's the main character and the pressure that she's under. She's like, I'm just trying to get out of here. Her sister does not know, does not care. She doesn't turn her in, but she's just like, yeah, it's some bullshit. Just get out of here. And I'm like, how long has she been fucking up? So I'm hoping that we get like the origin story. Like,
we're gonna have to. But also, okay, so the episodes 9 and 10 were my least favorite because so episode 9
is Escape from Shit.
Escape from Shit Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was, I disliked it initially because I thought that was the last episode, because I think like I watched it in real time and then I was looking for the next episode the next week and it didn't come out the next week. There was another week. So anyway, but lo and behold, there was an episode 10. So all was redeemed. I just couldn't believe that the car was going that fast and she got hit and she survived.
Yeah, that person is dead.
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, she's somewhere in the episode. That's her. How did she survive that? She gets put into that hole, and then there were just certain things about that I didn't believe. I was like, okay, whatever, I'm hooked. Let's see our way through. So then finally, the dude finds her at the hospital, and then she goes back to the casino owner. And he doesn't want to kill her, but he's been searching for her all this time to pay for her hospital bills. And then
that was weird to me. No, actually, though, he didn't want to kill her because he wanted to use her.
He wanted to use her. Okay.
Yeah, you remember those families were meeting, the mob families, and he was like, he was like, I know that this meeting, he's going in with the handicap,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted her to use her gift to tell if they were, because.
Okay.
But I felt exactly like you, like right up until it was like, okay, good, because I was gonna say, she's been running all of this time and like you're being super, super nice. But then also remember he had made the discovery that his about his son, wasn't on the up and up. So it seems like, or not it seems like, while she was on the run having these adventures, his feelings about her changed from I need to capture her and kill her to, oh, my own flesh and blood wasn't on my side. And then all of these arrangements are being made with these mob families, namely the woman I have to get her name, the woman who was like the head. And then he decided, okay, we need to use her. And so, but he still just kept up the little creepy. So it made sense to me, like at the very end, but I was feeling the same way. Like, why is she still alive? Like, why are they going through all this, like with giving her the dress and doing like all these things? But then it made sense to me when it got to that. So I was like, oh, okay. So second season, she's going to be like working for him again. Like, you know, and then all of the other stuff happened. So
well, it was just, I knew that, okay, is this show going to have a second season? Yes, we know it's going to have a second season. So they had to, they're going to keep the same formula as first season, her solving these crimes, using her amazing lie detective talent. Hurrah. But I was just like, okay, so who is she going to be running from? And so this storyline provided, you know, that plot point. So she has a reason to run because Beatrix Haas is the name of the woman, played by Rhea Perlman, who I'm glad to see her come back. I loved her in Cheers. So yeah, she's going to be back and she's going to be doing the same thing. I don't know if I guess like out of morbid curiosity, I might follow it into a second season. At this point, I don't care because it's just a Muppet solving crimes.
Which, if you're such a Muppet fan, one would think that you'd be into it. I think I like the show more than you did. The certain questions, I didn't allow myself to go down that rabbit hole because I was enjoying it. So it's like, I'm not about to try to apply logic. Like, yes, I thought that person was dead. I actually thought, like, the Escape from Shit Mountain was not my favorite, but I did like how they did a couple of things to make you wonder, because for me, it wasn't obvious that it was her, because her friend, that Stephanie Sue, who got out of the car, she was also wearing a very similar coat. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, oh, they're following that same formula. Every time she meets someone and has just like a sliver of like their kindred spirits, that's the person that dies, and then she's going to solve it. So it did, you know, like thinking of it and trying to apply that formula and then seeing that it was her, it was a little bit of a twist. I also, I'm a fan of Gordon Levitt's because he just always plays people, not always, but he plays assholes really, really well. And so when I saw that it was him, I was like, it's going to be interesting, like at the very least. And I also was interested in the dynamic between him and his friend from childhood or young personhood who was running the inn. It's like, there's stuff here. Like, you obviously see he's supposed to be the one that's the loser and the other one was the rich kid. But I could tell that it was like a little more to it. I knew, of course, they killed that girl or he killed the girl, but it was still a bit of a reveal to me that the man who ran the inn didn't realize the exact details, because the way that he just hid that body, no questions asked. I'm like, so they've done some shit, because he just showed up like, I got bodies, like, let's put it in the body tree. Like, it's like, okay. So I just, like they just already knew, like it was, that denotes like, this shit has happened more than once. So I just assumed like they both killed her, or if just the other guy killed her, he knows all of the details around it. But as they started to reveal that he truly cared for her, and Gordon Levitt kept saying she just started getting crazy. And the first time he said it, he looked at him funny. And then he said it again. And then he was like, so did so-and-so get crazy too? And when I realized, oh, so he didn't have any part in it, and this guy has been lying. So he's just suspected that he killed her from a malicious way. But the story that was given was like he tried to help her and then it didn't work or something. So there was still like a little bit of surprise for me. Simply because it was Charlie that ended up getting hit. But I was thinking she should be dead. And the only reason why she is not dead is because these people want a season 2, and her knowing that people are lying and also being a ghost would just be too far out for me to even get with. So I get it. But for the most part, I tried not to think too deeply because I really, really like her. I've always liked her, but I really, really like her in this. And I like seeing like who's going to be the guest star, because I've been pretty happy with the guest stars on all of them. The only one that I don't remember there being anybody that I really knew was the night shift one.
During the second episode, the night shift, John Ratzenberger from Cheers, he was in
Cheers. That's the one.
Yeah.
Cliff. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it's Cliff Clavin. He has gotten old. Yeah. So there was a special, a special.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah, in each episode. That was fun. Yeah. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. It was because I didn't stick with Natasha Lyonne through Russian Doll. She I remembered her from Orange is the New Black. I liked Orange is the New Black mostly because of other characters, even though she added to it, but yeah, because of the characters. And this show, I was just like, okay, it's watchable.
Russian Doll did get tiring though, because it was that whole thing of like reliving that same night. I could see how somebody would just be like, I can't watch this again, like where she wakes up and she goes in and they're having a party. So that was the Groundhog Day element.
Yeah, but I liked Groundhog Day, the movie. I was just like, and I've also liked Sliding Doors and other films like that. But like with Russian Doll, I think it got to like the third or fourth episode, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like there was nothing that kept me like really caring about what happened to the characters, And so I guess like with this season, is she going to get caught by the casino guy? Okay, great. Yeah, that I wondered about that. But then as it approached to like by episode 9, I'm like, okay, well, obviously she has to stay alive because they find her in the hospital, and that's the only place where people can find you, even though she was classified as Jane Doe or whatever. So
that didn't make sense to me. That did not make sense to me. Like she's got the perfect thing she's dead. But then I guess it kind of does, because if he's looking for her, he's not going to take that at face value. Like everybody else watching the news that's not searching for her. But I was like, okay, good. So the other guy is just going to, and then he's like sitting outside the hospital, which of course we see it in a much different light on the very last episode when he's sitting outside the hospital. But that did kind of get me like, okay, that was neat how they rolled it up, but he's still outside. So I guess he just suspected that it wasn't really her. I don't know. But then I was like, I'm not going to think, because if I think, then, I'm just going to keep watching.
And see, that I think that's my problem. Like, I didn't want to just sit back and be entertained by it. I kept on thinking about stuff. And you know what show I blame for this? 24. That recently, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked, what's the show that everyone loved and you think is trash? And I'm like, 24 is fucking trash.
Okay. So, but it was trash. But how is it to blame? Like, what's the connection to Poker Face? Because you don't think Poker Face is trash. So
I don't think it's trash. But I also don't care. I mean, I had the questions like, okay, she's just traipsing from town to town, hasn't changed her name, hasn't changed her identity, and she's evading these guys for a year. Like that's kind of ridiculous and kind of unbelievable. Me watching the other show that we're going to review next week kind of it caused that problem, because at least that character
a lot more than Poker Face, a lot more problems. Now that I can see. Because what Charlie wasn't doing, Charlie was solving shit.
Yeah, she was solving. But I'm like, if I'm running for my life, I'm gonna like, okay, that truck driver that you met during the second episode, the night shift, she says, keep going, change your identity, use another name, keep on the move or whatever. She kept on the move, but didn't change shit about herself. And it didn't have
what I saw as, so she's irresponsible. Like, there's something to that. And to me, when her sister's like, I'm tired of your shit, you always do stuff, I'm like, she's reckless. Because the lady did tell her. She didn't do any of that shit. She's like, let's just keep going. All right, I'm just going to be Charlie Gale. You know? And so I think that in the next season, we will see the flaws, like, because you're sympathetic to her, but then maybe there's things that she does. Because like, we know how the casino guy met her and the whole thing, but we don't know, like, there may be something even before that. Like, what are the ways that she contributes to, like, oh, now I'm in this jam, like, maybe Charlie is a problem and she'll be like more of a problem the next season. The way her sister was acting towards her, and I realized like everybody's not, I love my siblings, that there are people who are just like, that's my sibling, but whatever, I ain't choose you. The way she acted, I was like, did she almost kill your daughter? Like you're not worried a little bit? And like, did she kill the dad? Did she turn it into the police? Like what? So,
well, it has something to do with water and swimming and being near the beach or whatever. It has something to do with that because that's something that came up all through so I did notice, okay, so we have this entertainment review podcast and you're one of those people who watches TV like, I'm looking at every single detail. So I'm looking at every single detail as well to keep up with you, sis. But also, I'm just like, this is like what made 24 unbelievable and why I'm comparing this show to 24. Again, if you're in the show and you suspend all of your disbelief, it's compelling. You want the clock ticking, think. That used to be my favorite part, waiting for the dink so I can dink along, But you got Jack Bauer. He never has, you could play a drinking game off of, I didn't have a choice. Because he says it at least 2 or 3 times during each show. He never had a choice. He's fucking law enforcement, but he never has a choice. He has to break the law.
Oh my God.
Hold the law. Then he's in LA. What's he getting from downtown to Santa Monica in 15 minutes? There's no fucking way. During the daytime, I can see if it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, then there ain't no traffic. There's very little traffic.
One of my favorite jokes about people from California is how at some point, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, they're going to talk about one of the interstates or like ways to get somewhere or traffic. Yeah. And I didn't know that was a thing until SNL. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh, it's everybody does it, but in California, it's like, that should tell you right there how bad the traffic is because it has taken over everyone's conversation. You ask somebody what time it is. It's 3:14, just enough time to get to somewhere you did not ask me about that. I'm going to give you a traffic arrest. So listen to you. I'm like, oh yeah, she's from California.
Yeah. So having lived in LA and battled Los Angeles traffic, he's getting someplace in 15 minutes because this show has to be wrapped up in an hour. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And everybody's like, but let's watch this so that we can have tips on how to act.
They say 24 was the impetus for Barack Obama winning the presidential election because it was the first show where they saw a Black president and they liked him and respected him. And I'm like, 24?
But also, why are white people allowing themselves? Okay, so you're basically calling yourselves fucking stupid because your racism is so far up your ass that you're like, a Black man being president, like, because you know how we can't do things until white people are ready for something. So you're going to further infantilize yourselves by being like, I couldn't even fathom it. I couldn't see a Black person in this position of power until I saw 24 and saw an actor doing it. I remember reading that and being like, that is some bullshit. And if that is true, we are way more fucked than I already knew that we were.
Girl. The reality television show president that is now like, he's now announcing or preemptively announcing his own arrest for this weekend.
Yeah, I was like, what Tuesday? Oh, yeah, I've erased him from my mind, but yeah. Like, so, but this, it shouldn't be surprising, but that's such a stupid statement. 24 helped us see.
But I mean, it's just, yeah, the stupidity started there. Actually, the stupidity started way back because there's no way Ronald Reagan should have been president. But lo and behold, he was a movie actor. Okay. So yeah.
It's something about being a big movie star. It seems like that makes some movie stars feel like this is just like being president, which is like, okay, first off, my nigga, you're going into it with the wrong motivations. Like everyone is going to be taking pictures of me. And it's like what you're leaving out is major decisions and things being in your hands. Like that's already sick. I thought you were going to say the stupidity started when they were calling Bill Clinton the first Black president because he went on Arsenio Hall and played the saxophone.
No, it went back farther than that. I mean, so Ronald Reagan, he became governor of California. Nobody looked at this record. There's all the crazy people running the streets right now, living on the streets right now, courtesy of him. And then his wife was like Jabberjaws. Like she had a reputation.
Superhead. Could it be that the Nancy Reagan Superhead thing might be maybe the first time like a white person could stand up and be like, actually, I was the first. Is that the first time ever? Have it. And they tried to act like that was such a lie, but I am seeing this pop up so much. I even saw it since I'm a purveyor of blind gossip now. There was an old Hollywood blind item, and I want to say it was dated before that Twitter thing blew up, that talked about her. Just like people were like, oh no, this is number one. So I think that we should get on like an ancestry.com and see if there's some relations there, because this is America. Superhead and Nancy Reagan could be related.
You know what? The one thing that I remember about Nancy is how huge her head was. Maybe because she was given so much head. All right.
Poker face.
How do we rate this show?
I give it 5 stars. I was in, but I'm not surprised I was in because I watched these kinds of shows, and I've told you this, when I was a child, like 6 or 7 years old. Simon and Simon, Rockford Files. I watch shows, when I look at it now, it's like, why was I watching this? And also, why didn't I not know then that I needed to write TV? Because I watched it, and I did not watch it like a 7-year-old. I watched it, now that I think back on it, like, oh, and why would she say that? Like, I really, really studied it. With my dad, I watched To Catch a Thief, Columbo, Perry Mason, but I was really into like the Magnum PI, Simon and Simon. To this day, you put the Simon and Simon theme song on, and when I was younger, you could not tell me that thing did not slap. I hear it now, and I'm like, this is so pretty good. I even had a favorite part where the brother with the blonde hair, like, it would like turn like into like rock and roll, and he'd come in, like put shades on, and I was like, oh, he's cute. Like I was in it. Charlie's Angels, like all those shows where they're solving these crimes and they're also doing these things where they should have gotten caught by now. So that's probably why I was able to just suspend the disbelief, because how many times in Charlie's Angels they're pretending to be whatever, and they're sneaking into the big bad's office, sitting down, opening drawers slowly, and I'm like, somebody's gonna come. And and even when I was little, I kind of knew like they should get caught by now, because when I try to sneak and do stuff, I get caught all the time. But that's just how those shows go. So I think that that's probably another reason why it was like, okay, this should not be happening, but it's so entertaining, and it really did make me think a lot about being 7 and 8 years old. So it was like a lot of nostalgia for me. So I think I have like these huge rose-colored bulletproof lenses on. I'm just like, because it just reminded me of like, oh, I was little. I, for some reason, had a TV in my room, and I was only 8. So I can never find out of this, because I told her she's not getting one until she's in the double digits. But I really, really, I love those shows. And I loved like trying to figure out, who was who. I may need to write about this, because I have not thought about it like this deeply, and being like, it's going to be her, because she's trying to act like she's cool with everything, but she's not. And I was like, 3rd grade. So this just kind of brought it back for me. And I don't think I said this, but my 3 favorites, of course, Tim Meadows and Ellen Barkin. That was hilarious. I actually liked the barbecue one, the stall, but I will say at the beginning I wasn't feeling it. I was like, I'm getting antsy, but I ended up liking it. So that one, and then the other one, Rest in Metal. So
Okay.
those are my three favorites, with the Tim Metals one being like number one. So yeah, I think I had a lot of nostalgia attached to it.
I can understand.
I think about it because I had like process that, and I'm like, oh, this is why I really, really liked it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I got a lot done while this show was on. So, and I paid attention. I did have some favorites. I was not into, you know what my groove is entertainment wise? Family dysfunction. I live for fucking family dysfunction. If I can't have a show or a movie about family dysfunction, then there needs to be a lot of killing in it. But the criminal needs to be the hero. So I like rooting for the bad guy. So I like, So I like shows like The Wire, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, because it's like, okay, we're looking at, I like that, the dramas about criminal intent and intention and what's driving them.
Yeah, because it's interesting. And like,
sure, like,
if you're somebody who's a performer, you want to play that because it's
complex.
It's nuanced, it's complex. And if you're watching, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm like rooting, like your Better Call Sauls. And I don't know if you're watching it, but BMF is very much.
Okay, I got to get into that one. That's on my list.
Like that.
So me and fucking police procedurals and anything having to do with crime solving, nah. Like, I'm rooting for the criminal. Like, I'm automatically rooting for the criminal. Like in Time of the Monkey, I wanted them two brides to get away with it. Now, I'm glad they didn't kill those children back in the day, but I wanted them to get away with it. I was really pissed at the protagonist for putting those two old brides.
I forgot about Time of the Monkey.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that one too, because I liked those actresses. They were
yes,
and I never would have. It's like people are being put together that I never would have put together, because she is Law and Order to me. It's like Law and Order and Who's the Boss.
Yeah, but the way the other one like just climbed up that flower.
Yeah, they were impressive. I also feel like that would be us if we were in a retirement.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so on their side. Like they're obnoxious kind of, because like those women are trying to like watch TV, but I would so be like, I hope that would be us.
How they were sitting in a nursing home with the beatbox on the table, like, fuck y'all bitches. We were jamming.
Yeah, I really, really like them. Yeah, I like rooting for the bad guy too, because they're never all bad. Like,
No.
you stand it. And also,
Yeah.
we didn't grow up with silver spoons in our mouths. So it's like, yeah, get your shit like the rest of these people are too. Like, that's how being left is gonna make you feel.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm
yeah.
and
Yeah.
from previous conversations that we had, like going back to 1619 projects, we know what police procedures are all about. So I was just like, okay, they got Natasha Lyonne to help the police. So this is not necessarily a police procedural, but it's pretty damn near close to it, because it's following the Columbo bones. It has the Columbo bones. So I gave it a solid 3. I gave it a solid 3. I didn't cuss at it, but I gave it a solid 3. If I would have had the opportunity to cuss at it, maybe I would have boosted it up to 3.5, because I didn't even get a chance to like there wasn't even a chance where I could scream out, "Run, bitch!" Like, at least give me that opportunity to yell, "Run, bitch!" Like,
but if he's doing the ambient type of PI Columbo thing, I don't know. And I'm not saying like you have to stick to this, but for the first season, if you're trying to establish like, this is what I'm calling back to and this is what I'm doing, ain't nobody gonna be running.
like even
which is why I'm excited for the next season, to see like, maybe we'll see like a little bit more of her. Maybe, is Charlie a criminal, like in some way? Like,
even in the first episode, when she was standing there, she stood there long enough to watch that dude kill herself. When it came out that she was responsible, I was just like, bitch, why are you still in the room? Dip. So when she got shot,
hey, come on.
Yeah, you're just standing there watching it, like go down like this is the Muppet Show. Bitch, this is not the Muppet Show. Even though you are a Muppet, yes.
Calling it the Muppet Show. Okay.
If you want to review this for second season, I'll come with you. Like, I'll hope right along with you, sis.
No. I'll probably just take a moment to be like, yeah, it's still cooking. All right, let's get back to whatever.
Next week's Swarm, y'all. Next week's Swarm. We're going deep.
Bitches.
Yes.
I loved it. Oh God. I can't wait to watch it again. Now I can say with Swarm, and this is no spoiler, my phone died and I just left it alone. Yeah. I don't do that. I never do that because I'm always expecting like, someone's going to be trying to get in touch with me because they're near death. So I must, and then at some point I picked it up to go charge it and I didn't turn it on, because Lance was like, hey, I sent you pictures. I'm like, I don't know. My phone died. He just like looked at me and I'm just like, I don't even know why you sending me things. like we're watching this. That was some compelling shit. That girl is good and I will never look at her the same.
No. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm not sure how many tangents we're going to go off on. But I can't wait to talk about it.
Atlanta, I can say that.
We do.
It made me miss. I'm like, oh, this feels real. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Dominique. She was like, oh my God, Swarm. And I said, if you like that episode, you need to watch Atlanta. She's like, okay. She fell off in the first season. And I'm like, you liked the episode where they pretty much did like a documentary on the murder? You would like it. She's like, wait.
2 of those in Atlanta. 2 of those. And we're here to talk about all of it with you on our podcast, Rapping Atlanta. That's the one that we did before Tangentially Speaking. This podcast was spurred by the tangents from Rapping Atlanta. So, is that our show?
That is our show.
Our show. All right.
Thank you for listening to Tangentially Speaking. This podcast is recorded and produced by Nita Sharice and Nikki Ebo. Our theme music is Lush Living by Martin Landstrom. Our artwork was created by Prime Vice Studios. You can learn more about this intellectual property development agency at primevice.com. Find us on your favorite podcast player and YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.